So, welcome everyone to our Facebook Live event for Get to Know Your Neighbors. I'm your host, as always, Cameron Geesaman with Geesaman Homes, and I'm fully enjoying interviewing local neighbors. Each week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30, we will be doing a Facebook Live interview like this one that you're about to see. Our goal is essentially to bring community closer by introducing you to amazing neighbors in Fishers. I honestly haven't gotten the best rest in the last few nights, as I must admit, I've been running through so many questions that I want to ask our guest tonight, Mr. Gary Reynolds, owner of Reynolds Farm Equipment. I actually met Gary when I was in high school while attending Fishers United Methodist Church and found that he and his wife, Cindy, were just two of the nicest people I'd ever met. He's such a pillar of the Fishers community and is a very giving, loving, and kind, and just has a heart for people. Gary is a second-generation owner of Reynolds Farm Equipment and has lived and worked in Fishers his entire life. I'm beyond excited to hear his stories and all the things about his life and to learn about our amazing city and show you even more why we love where we live. So please give a warm welcome to Gary Reynolds. Hey, Gary.
How are you this evening?
I'm wonderful.
Great, great.
I have to admit, that's not me just coming up with a little like blurb at the beginning of not sleeping. I honestly one night was up till like 2 o'clock just trying to think of all the things that I want to ask you. So many.
My life isn't that complicated. It shouldn't be hard to think of something.
It might not be complicated, but it's so very interesting because you've lived here your entire life.
That's correct.
So we're going to start with the first question, which I sent you some of the questions, and I know that'll kind of lead to other questions. But before we kind of get started, one of the main questions that we're asking everyone is what comes to mind when I mention the city of Fishers?
Well, great. A lot of things come to mind. First thing comes to my mind is when we moved into town off the family farm years ago. It was a big town then to me because I was a young man and not quite 12 years old. And so memories is the first thing that come to my mind. And then every phase part of my life, a different memory comes, a different thought. Of course, now you can't help but think of Fishers and say growth. It's got about everything. So someplace between being a 12-year-old kid riding around town on his bicycle to today, it's a big difference.
Okay, you said that you moved off of the farm and into the city. Is that what I caught you saying? Can you?
The big town of Fishers, yes. There was 500 of us that lived there.
I'm sorry, I love that. There were 500 people in Fishers and all of Fishers.
And all of Fishers.
And what year was that, Gary?
1955. And I got fortunate to have a bicycle and got to drive all over my bike all over town. And it was big then.
It probably
it seemed big to a 12-year-old with short legs.
Tell us, okay, so you were 12 years old. Did your parents have Reynolds Farm Equipment at that point, or when did they open it?
Yes, in this coming December, we'll have been in business 65 years. They started the business. My folks started the business there. Would everybody know where Puccini's is at in Fishers?
I think
that strip mall. Our old store used to be sitting right there. And we also had facilities where the Wendy's is at. So on that side of the street. Okay. And then, so as we grew, we took up both sides of the street all the way down to where it turns. And in fact, my dad bought a couple of the houses on each side of the road just so we could have offices because we had run out of office space. So our business started right there, basically where Puccini's and Starbucks are. So that's where it started.
Okay, so then when did it move from there to where it currently is?
In August of 1972.
Good one, Gary.
So we served 17 years there in Fishers, and it was a great start for us, but we outgrew the facilities. And so in August of 1972, went to the present location in Fishers. And then, of course, I think since 72 to now, we've done 8 or 9 building projects. So we've expanded and done a lot of different things.
Well, you expanded through the back too, right? Because there's a big section on the back.
Oh, yes. Yes. Fishers used to be what we call a full service John Deere dealership, and that's where we had large tractors. In fact, when we first went into business, John Deere didn't even make lawnmowers. And then as we grew into the business, and finally in the 60s, John Deere decided to make lawnmowers and make them out of their own factories. And then so that's how we actually got into the lawnmower business as a second business, but it was all John Deere. So now it's almost a standalone business. About everything we do at Fishers is construction equipment or lawn and garden equipment.
Which that's even progressed, because I don't feel like I remember it being mostly lawn and garden.
No, it wasn't. We've grown that facility, and it's served us well and still continues. We did a major remodel last year, and we're going to do another one probably next year. But it has served us well. The facility has served us well. My dad had a lot of forethought to it that came out and has served us well for the last 45 years.
It definitely is one of those that everybody knows about it. Mike had a really great question. I'm kind of sad that I didn't come up with this question, so thanks, Mike. What's the most exciting changes that you've seen for Fishers since the store began in 1955?
Most exciting changes. Well, I will tell you, as one thing about it, there's a few things that are historic. Disney World was born in 1955, the same time as Reynolds Farm Equipment. Another iconic company called McDonald's was started in 1955. So a lot of us good businesses all started in 1955. So I will tell you, as somebody that was looking for a nice place to eat, when McDonald's came to Fishers, was one of probably the most exciting things that ever happened in the life of the present residences at that time, because wow, we had our own McDonald's, and that was big. That was big bragging rights.
Well,
small towns didn't have them.
Yeah, well, and that McDonald's I feel like was the only thing in Fishers. Like that's what you knew.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do have a question, because when we moved to Fishers, my parents built a house in 1991. Okay. They think that in 1991, there was only one stoplight in Fishers. I feel like there was more than one.
Well, there couldn't have been very many, because I'm trying to think. I think that, did they count the railroad as one?
In my mind, I agree with you. I think there was the one at the railroad and the one essentially at McDonald's.
That's correct. The Fisher city limits was considered halfway out to Allisonville Road, out about where Barn Hills had raised tomatoes. And so those were some tomato fields and things like that. And the reason I know that is because as a kid, we would go out and pick some tomatoes off those tomato fields. We would go in town to the post office, which is the old building that's left on the square there. And we'd climb up top of the old post office, and we'd throw tomatoes at cars during Halloween.
You did not.
The trouble of it is, though, I don't think they can arrest me 70-some years later, hopefully. But the main thing is that when we throw those tomatoes, we had to wait on a car. Fishers didn't have hardly any traffic. So we'd sit there and wait 15, 20 minutes for a car to come by on 116th Street, if you can imagine that.
Gary, I think you might know enough of the police officers that you might be able to pull this off again.
No more tomatoes on the post office.
Darn it. David Hyde, I'm sorry if I'm saying that the wrong way. He says, my grandfather, Bob Hyde, installed the first stoplight in Fishers, and it was at the Co-op Scale House. I don't know what that is. So, Gary, what's the Co-op Scale House? Well,
his dad, Bob Hyde, ran for Farm Bureau. He ran the co-op right there where the elevator, remember the old silo is there by
Yes.
in Fishers?
Yep.
That's where the old elevator was, and that's where Bob Heidi ran that elevator at that time. So that's how I remember Bob Heidi then. And now I'm up here in the middle of the boonies up northeast of Noblesville, and Bob Heidi's place is about 1.5 miles from where we live.
Oh my gosh.
That's how things go around.
Tell us a little bit about Reynolds Farm Equipment so that people at least that don't, here's the thing, everybody knows the building, but I don't think everybody really understands what Reynolds Farm Equipment is. And even for me, I didn't know that, that I could get my lawnmower serviced through you guys and stuff like that. So can you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, we started, like I said, in 1955. My parents started with one other employee, and in fact, that employee, my folks came off the farm, and they were on the farm about 1.5 miles from where the store was, and just about 0.5 mile from where their house was on the farm is where the first employee for Reynolds Farm Equipment came, and the next employee was less than 0.5 mile from that. So all the employees, the first 2 or 3 employees we had, all came within 0.5 mile of Reynolds Farm Equipment. So that was in 55. My parents started it. My mother ran books. She waited on people for parts. My dad sold equipment. He helped get it fixed. So everybody had all kinds of jobs, and that's what they did. And we just grew up in it, trying to do anything you can, whether it was sweep the floor or pressure wash the equipment and clean it up, whatever. So that's just what you did in a family-run business. And then later on, like I said, in 1972, we moved out to our present location. And that was a big move for us at the time. Everybody said, you're moving clear out in the country, you're moving away from town, which we wanted to get a little bit away from town because we were in the agricultural business at the time. We built that facility, and then later on, we started buying facilities in different towns, Sheridan, Noblesville. Actually, there was a John Deere dealership in Noblesville at one time. In fact, we ran one at one time. But Sheridan, Noblesville, Anderson, all those places that joined us. So that's our growth pattern. My folks just love what they were doing. I will say that in December of 55, it's funny how things go around. I was thinking about this afternoon. In December of 55, my folks had put together selling all their farm equipment and their part of the cows and hogs that they had when they were farming, and they came up with $18,000 to go into business. And by spring, in March of the following year of 56, things were so bad on the farm that actually farmers were giving their pigs away or shooting them because they couldn't afford to raise them.
Oh my
So a sow would give birth to a pig, to a bunch of pigs, and they just didn't need them because they weren't worth anything. They couldn't afford to feed them. So I was thinking about that today when I think about the shortage of, it wasn't long that there was a shortage of pork because farmers just quit raising hogs. Well, today, folks, there's going to be a shortage of pork. With Smithfield closed in Idaho and Tyson's closed in all of them. In fact, I bought some pigs today to have them butchered here in probably another month, just because I think there's going to be a little bit of, if you want the run on pork tomorrow, I just caused it. But
okay, so what kept you in Fishers?
Actually, as we grew there, it got to be a pain in the neck to be there because we couldn't get farm machinery in and out of there. But then as the lawn and grounds care business evolved and got to be a major portion of our business, and it is a major portion of our business, then the facilities just became just right. Location, 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 as they call it in your business there, Cameron. So it became very valuable for what we were doing. So time just took care of itself. And so that's all that happened there. We just got lucky that we happened to be at the right place at the right time and long enough.
Okay, so because you're the owner at this point, what is your favorite part of owning Reynolds Farm Equipment?
Well, until my granddaughter, which is our HR director, sent me home with COVID, and I think she was trying to protect me. I really do. I think she meant well, but she said, "You old people have to stay home." So if it wasn't for this COVID, the nice part of owning the company is the fact that I can still go in and nobody's saying, "Aren't you too old to be here?" That I love it. We got the best staff we've ever had in the history of our company, 65 years later, and we've got the best group of people that work for us ever. And I just love them all. Don't have one employee at any location that I just don't love being around. And so that's my favorite part. And the fact that I can come and go and nobody makes me stay home or not come to work, that's the best part of it.
If anybody has joined in recently, I'm Cameron Geesaman with Geesaman Homes. This is Gary Reynolds, who we're interviewing today to get to know your neighbor. If you just joined, we'd love for you to wave or give an emoji to the comments, which is below. Allison Stroll's making some comments, which I absolutely love. Thank you for joining again, Allison. We always each week want to bring different neighbors. We're calling them neighbors of the Fishers community. We are going to do, Gary and I talked earlier today, and we are doing a giveaway later in the show. So you'll have to stick around to the end. Anybody that owns a home would benefit from this giveaway. I'm making some assumptions, yes, but anybody that owns a home could use this giveaway. One of the next questions that I have for you, Gary, it's not specifically on the list, but when you were kind of developing or going through the process of growing Reynolds Farm Equipment, I know that you are part of the city county, what do you call it? The Chamber of Commerce, right?
Yes.
But you even mentioned that's not what it was called. So can you kind of talk about the chamber or what that's about and how it benefited your business?
Yes, we actually, a lot of the business people, at that time, there was 30 some businesses in Fishers is what there was. There's hundreds today, or actually thousands of businesses in Fishers. People don't realize how many there really are. But it was called the Fishers Unified Business and Community Support Group. Time we got all that out, the meeting was over. But that's what we actually called ourselves, and it was the precursor to being the chamber.
You came up with that name, right?
No, I didn't. Somebody, I think smarter than I, but came up with that name. But that's actually, the name told us what we were. We were a unified business and community support group. We were to do things for the community. It involved Lions Club members. It involved anybody else that had a business in town and that wanted to put their business there and grow there. So that's what it was called. And then it later became the Fishers Chamber. Before we moved to town, people didn't know that there at years ago, and I'm talking 70, 75 years ago, people come around in what they called the movie circuit. And they would have Western movies that they would show. They would come to a town on a weeknight and show a free movie on the side of one of the buildings in town. In fact, the building they used to show them off of was right across from, it was sitting, Milo Booth's garage was sitting right there on 116th Street, about where the entrance is into the town hall. And there was a white block building that Milo Booth had, a garage, and it was white. And the guy would come around during the summer, and about every 2 or 3 weeks, he'd show a movie off the side of the building. And no talkie or anything like that, just movies. We would all have our little Bunsen burners, and we would cook our hot dogs on these little Bunsen burners, and we just thought that was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And that was one of my favorite events in Fishers. So Well, Fisher's actually is nothing but good memories. I remember when Fisher started growing, and my dad said that absolutely growth is good. And the reason it is, it brought a lot of smart people, people that didn't live in Fisher's, but these were smart people. These are people that were educated. They came from other towns that have been through growth, like Carmel and Lawrence and some of that, and they grew out to Fisher's to be out in the country, but yet they brought their wisdom with them. And actually, it's one of the reasons that Fisher's, I think, has been able to survive a lot of the problems that a lot of towns had in growth, is that it had a lot of good people that moved into town. They've been there 30, 40 years now, but they moved into town and brought with them all their wisdom, and did a good job for the town of Fishers in its growth years.
Well, I feel like you were a part of that too. I mean, being a business, going from where there were only, a handful of businesses to now where there's, I'm going to say 1,000 businesses, I feel like, at least.
Yeah, I bet that number's close to 1,300.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
what there is. And I know people wouldn't think that, but there is that many.
Okay, so one of my favorite memories, always, and will still always be one of my favorite memories, are your Christmas lights. Who came up with the idea and how did that all transpire?
Well, actually, what happened, my dad and some of his brothers, so my uncles, loved Christmas. And they always did their own nice Christmas decorations at home. And I'm a Christmas guy. I could have Christmas 11 months out of the 12 and then take that month off for shopping. So I love Christmas. And so if Mike's close, Mike, you could put on there what year it was, but over 25 years ago, the first thing we did was decorate a tractor and string lights on it. And most of that was just to celebrate Christmas and to do that for my parents, which just love that holiday. And so that's how it started. We did one piece of equipment, then the next year, a few more, and then a few more. And then it grew into the extravaganza that it got to be. And we really loved having it at our facility, because it was nice to see people bring their kids in and visit, come in and have hot chocolate. Still miss that, but nothing. One thing my dad said, nothing lasts forever. You just can't expect those things, and the road construction, everything. So we had to do something different. And we were just lucky that a place like Conner Prairie even exists in our community. I tell you, every community would give its eye teeth to have something like a Conner Prairie in it that is clean, wholesome. And so we hope everybody embrace it.
When Reynolds finally made the decision to give it to Conner Prairie, there was an uproar because so many people really loved driving down 37 and seeing it. But for me, it was kind of one of those, because I've lived here for so long, I, like you, was just really excited that Conner Prairie was getting it, because it's such a good company that's getting it and a wonderful place for families to go. I felt like it was a safer alternative. But will you kind of talk about, because you mentioned in our phone call, kind of like being a part of Conner Prairie, not a part of Conner Prairie, but seeing how it kind of became the Conner Prairie it is today, and why you decided to, have the lights go there.
Yes. And I will say this, that even I underestimated the power of Conner Prairie. And when I got on the board at Conner Prairie, which is one of the nicest things I'd ever did, after doing that, I was able to look at the inner workings of Conner Prairie and realize the magnitude of which its outreach is. It's Smithsonian Institute affiliate. People don't realize how important, how big that is to have something in your community that's affiliate of something that magnanimous, I guess, whatever that word is. So anyway, I remember selling equipment to Conner Prairie. It was a working farm. So I remember going over there as a kid. So I sat there and knew about Conner Prairie, watched it evolve, and still could not believe what it's come today. And it is, folks, hang on to your hat, because in the next few years, it's going to get just even more great. And your people are just going to love seeing the new things that's going to happen there in Conner Prairie. So we just thought it was time. It was a safety situation to get rid of the traffic was getting bad, and the last thing we would want is somebody to get hurt. And and the other thing is we had allowed a local food pantry to take up donations at that Christmas lights.
Donating.
And so we hated it because of that, because it gave them about $35,000 in funds to help buy food products that they gave away. Now they've replaced that with other giving, but I am telling you, there's all those things you think about when you take something like that away. One thing about the Christmas lights, if anybody that didn't go, you missed quite a treat. They did it very well. You actually got to walk through the lights, which is something we weren't able to do. Right. We always wanted to do that, but people walked through them, and you were on an asphalt driveway, and then they had the carousel they added. Folks, we were just about a third of what went really on over Conner Prairie. So this is a plug for you this fall. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. You're really going to enjoy it, and they're going to keep growing it.
So Chris asks, what's your favorite light?
Well, without a doubt, it was not just the manger scene. It's when we put the first responders, the athletes, and different people kneeling at the manger. That by far has to be my favorite because it just represented from all walks of life the respect for the manger scene and for the time of season that it is and what we get to celebrate each year.
Yep. Well, I always loved it. We always asked the kids which one they liked the favorite as we went through, and it was good. And, it started off small and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I appreciated that you donated that essentially to our city. You know what I mean? That is something that so many of us will remember.
Well, and I will tell you, in life, there's a lot of things that come and go, but one thing about it, you always have your memories. And I tell you, I have the best memories out of Christmas lights. I just seeing people, and just a couple of years ago, I remember seeing people that are bringing their grandkids there that used to come when they were a kid. Now, I tell you, if there's nothing that makes you feel good, nothing any better than that.
Yeah,
that was
it's
awesome.
Been great. Will the cross always stay? Please say yes.
Well, yes, and we've redone the cross. We redid it last year and put all new lights on it, and that'll be good for about 3 years, and we'll redo it again. One thing about the cross for us, it's a symbol of hope for everybody.
Yes.
I don't want anybody to read any less than what's into it, but that's what the cross is. It's just a symbol of hope, regardless of how you feel about certain things and that ought to be presented in your community. We all need hope, and nobody needs it any more than we do right now.
Yeah.
We got to cling to something.
The other thing that I always remember is when Conner Prairie did the balloon. It's the Reynolds on the side. It's one of my if you don't know where you are, look for the balloon. You'll know where to go.
Yeah, what a iconic thing that Conner Prairie came up with there, and we're just thrilled to be part of that too. Again, it is such a well-run organization, great staff, and so to be a part of Conner Prairie is, if our name wasn't on it, we still like to support that balloon because it's really iconic in the area when you think about it.
It is now.
How many times have you driven down Allisonville Road or up Allisonville Road, and it looks like it's sitting in the middle of the road? A great thing.
It is. It is. And it's nice that Reynolds, the thing, growing up that's kind of synonymous through kind of from when we moved in 91 to now is you see Reynolds everywhere. It's at the state fair. It's at Conner Prairie. It's on 37. Like it's a staple. And I appreciate that you've kept that sameness throughout everything, right? Like you haven't changed it. It's still the same Reynolds that all of us kind of have known, right? it's morphed a little bit, but it's still the same Reynolds.
Yeah, we're just thrilled, and I couldn't be more thrilled. I've got the Reynolds family is embedded into everything that we're doing. My daughters, my nephews, my nieces, they're at the store, and let me tell you, they all have the same passion for those kind of things, and so I think we'll keep them for years to come because they feel just as good about them as I do.
For those of you that are just tuning in, I'm Cameron Geesaman with Geesaman Homes. This is that direction. This is Gary Reynolds with Reynolds Farm Equipment. Just kind of learning a little bit about our city and about Reynolds Farm Equipment and just kind of getting to know our city and our town. If you're new or if you just popped on, make sure to give a little comment or a wave. Just let us know you're here because Gary and I can both see the messages and things, and we love the little waves and everything, so Gary can kind of see who's popping on. Actually, Christy Heath just said my father worked at Reynolds for 42 years and he loved the family. I will have to admit, everybody that I've ever talked to that has worked for Gary or has been around Gary and the Reynolds family farm family, all they have is good things to say. I think you've won. I think I saw that you best places to work and stuff. And I'm sure everybody on here can say multiple things about how awesome the company is. But how, for those of you that don't know Reynolds Farm Equipment or know Gary, how can we support you and support the company?
Well, the main thing is, if you want to support us, yes, we love to have your business if there's anything that we can help you with. But the main thing I'm asking you to do is support all the businesses in your community because they may grow and vital to what you do. They pay taxes here. They do all the things for you to create your good school systems, and good businesses help create good school systems. And you want nothing of that stuff. You want it to always be the best. So whatever you do, be loyal here, buy here, but the main thing is live here. And the other thing is that give while you live. You know, we can all leave things in our will and everything else, but I'm going to tell you, there's churches, there's contemporaries, those kind of things, those charitable things in your community. Support them, help them. They'll grow and they'll just pay back dividends many, many times. So if you want to do anything, do it for your community and do it for the people that you break bread with every day or once in a while, and just support your local community.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that you, because I know you, I truly believe that's what you live by, Gary.
Well, you know, life's too short to think any other way. My dad had a saying that I'm going to give you, and I knew I was going to give it to you sometime tonight. I might as well give it to you now.
Okay, yeah. I'm listening.
And that thing is, if money will solve a problem, you haven't got one. And my dad said that to me and said it to my brother and my sister long before he had actually really made business very profitable. But he always said, if money will solve a problem, you haven't got one. And that's true. What would you give to have good health? What would you give and what kind of money to do those kind of things? So just remember that. So I'm just telling everybody, give while you live, and not and where you live, but give while you live.
Right. I think that's really good. Now I have to start telling my children that.
Good.
Do you have any other fun, like, tomato stories that we as individuals of Fishers, Indiana need to know? Because I feel like I need to know some more of these stories.
Gee whiz. I remember at Halloween time, there was always a greased pig that was put in the school. And then the janitors and the principals and everybody had to go in and get that greased pig. Well, you imagine what it's like catching a greased pig. That's why they greased it, so it'd be hard to catch. So those things went on, and you hear about those stories, you don't believe them. I saw them happen. So My brother, which is
Never
kind of
part of them, right, Gary? You were.
oh no, I wouldn't do anything like a greased pig. I just throw tomatoes. But anyway, my brother is kind of the quasi I call town historian. So if anybody wants better stories than what I can give you, he's got them, and he'll be glad to share them.
Reynolds Farm Equipment too. Like who all in the family? Because you have 3 siblings.
I have my older brother, older and wiser, I always call him, and my younger and prettier sister, and which is on both accounts is right. My brother was a good mentor in a lot of ways that I didn't even realize for many years, and he was a good mentor to me, and my sister has been just a great person, and so we've all enjoyed Fishers.
Are they part of Reynolds Farm Equipment too, or did they break off?
No, they actually were in the business at one time. They had different roles in the company, and they did them well.
Yeah. What made you want to actually be the main guy? That's the
Well,
right.
I think sometimes that's in your DNA, and I think some of it's arrogance. And you hate to call it arrogance. You want to call it something else when you're younger, and then you get to my age and you think, boy, you were arrogant. And so what were you thinking? But it's been a good ride. It's been great. We love being in the community, and we've enjoyed it. It's got good leadership. We don't agree with everything they do in the town. I won't agree with everything, haven't. But I haven't agreed with a lot of politicians or other people. But overall, Fishers is in good hands. And I just think the most important thing is let's get through this mess, and hope we can all enjoy life back to some,
Normalcy.
Yeah. I'd like to get back to some kind of what I call normal, whatever that is.
Okay, so you mentioned supporting your neighbors. So we're going to go back to that question because that's one of my last questions, which is, and you can take this however you want, but is there a neighbor that you recommend we support? When I mean neighbor, that can be business, that can be a friend. We're trying to grow our sphere so that we're bringing companies like you or people. It doesn't even, hopefully next week we might, crossing my fingers, possibly be interviewing a police officer as well. But is there a neighbor that you would like us to give a call out to or have us support as well?
Well, right now, and I don't want to get too much cliche because I hear it every day on the TV. I've watched more TV lately than I normally watch just because of that's what you do when you're stuck at home. But I will say this, that these first responders, I don't think we understand the value they are. I don't think I can even tell you how important some of my own employees that work for Reynolds are, that come to work every day under different circumstances. We try to keep them as healthy as possible. But that is the one thing I hope we all do, is to realize that there's businesses out there that are going to struggle. And if we can just help them a little bit, and those are our neighbors, folks. These restaurants, these people working in those restaurants, it's going to be tough for a while. So please help them. Be with your first responders. I hope that through all this, that when we look at a policeman, we look at him different than we've ever done. I think when we see somebody in a nurse's gown walk into a fast food restaurant, that we think, amen, what we really put them through. And so I just think when we talk about neighbors, let's just talk about all these people that are out there every day giving something that we're not giving.
Yep, I agree with that. Well, I appreciate that. And I know that that's the goal even with this show, like to not specifically, delve into what's kind of going on, but really to focus on our neighbors. And like you said, the people that are in our town, those really, smart people that have come here to support them and the first responders and everything. So that's our hope with this show, and just bring awareness to our community. We're getting close to the giveaway, and you have to be ready because you're going to have to make a comment in the comment section. So make sure you're aware of where that's at and what keys you need to type on to put in there. But one of the questions that I did not send you, it's something that I ask all of our clients, because it's something that I always love to kind of learn about people. I didn't prep you with this question, but what is your favorite part of your home and why?
Well, I think about that question. That's pretty good. It's the room I'm in. Whatever room I'm in, that's my favorite part. And I thought about that. And it's just, if I'm in the living room, I want to be there. It's enjoyable. If I'm where I am today, I'm in my den, and my wife is probably in the other room, so she won't make noise and make fun of me. She's in the sunroom, and so if I go in the sunroom with her, that's my favorite room. So we just enjoy living out here where we are, but I would say my living room is because it's the one room we keep straightened up. And so when I walk in, it looks like it's supposed to look, and it doesn't have all the clutter. And if I do nothing but walk through it, I say, wow, that's great.
Aww.
So when I think about favorite room, I'd have to say our barn. We've had a lot of people use the barn for weddings and wedding rehearsals, and for a lot of different Christmas events. And to see people use it and use our facilities just makes me tickled to death. I just glad when people use it. Now it's not for rent, but it is. But we've enjoyed the people using our facilities out here, and we enjoy it every day. So it's all been good.
I was lucky. Adam and I were lucky enough to take advantage of that said barn and have our reception, and it was one of the best days of our lives.
Well, it's only because we liked you.
Okay, guys, it is time for the giveaway. We're very excited about this. Last week we had our friend Sarah Kruer. She gave out her Happy Mail box. This week, after talking with Gary today, we kind of brainstormed some ideas, which thank you, Gary, for brainstorming those with me.
Okay.
And the giveaway today is going to be do you want to say what it is?
Well, it's going to be that we'll do a free service, whether it's your walk behind lawnmower or your riding lawnmower. We will give away a free service to anyone, so to whoever you choose, not me. I'm not going to be the one.
Oh, I don't even choose it. I don't choose it. They have to answer the question correctly and put it in the comments below. And the first person that answers it correctly has the chance to win it. So okay. I don't even pick it. But we really appreciate you doing that. We were kind of talking about a couple different ideas, and one of our friends mentioned, that you guys do service. And so I thought that was a really great idea to give that way as a thank you for joining our Get to Know the Neighbor Facebook Live event, and to even support Gary. So even though Gary didn't specifically say to support him directly, I'm asking all of you, my neighbors, to support Gary. He does have lawnmowers. He has other equipment as well. So are you all ready? We really liked the fact that I had to drag it out last week, kind of like what Ryan Seacrest does when he's going to announce who's going to win the show, whatever. See, I lost my train of thought. I'm just dragging it out, people, because I like to do it. It's fun. I now see why Ryan Seacrest does it.
You always did have a little mean streak.
Well, so there's that, Gary. So the question is, what was the name of the butcher's market in Fishers that was right along the tracks across the street from Nickel Plate Bar and Grill? And you have to spell it correctly. Go to the comment.
It went out of business.
It is no longer in business, but it was one of the pinnacles of the community as well. Christy said she used to park cars at.
All right, we got a winner.
Oh, we have a winner. Jenny Willis Skelton. Archers is correct. Archers was one of the main. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Allison got it right too. Congratulations, Jenny. We'll get with you to get you that prize. But do you have anything to say about Archers, Gary? Because they were kind of there just as long almost as you guys were.
Oh, yeah, they were there a long time. We see Ron once in a while at church. They live in Alabama.
I didn't know they.
Ron's doing well. They still have a meat market on the south side down at Greenwood where they do a lot of butchering. In fact, I have hogs taken there every year and cattle, and they still butcher them down there.
Well, I want to say thank you to everybody. Gary, I really, from the bottom of my heart, really appreciate you coming on and, talking with us and giving us a little bit of history. Now I will not look at the U.S. Mail Postal Service in downtown Fishers, and I won't look at it the same. I will always see young Gary, throwing tomatoes at cars. If you are just now joining, thank you for, we're kind of at the tail end, but this is Gary Reynolds with Reynolds Farm Equipment. You can go to reynoldsfarmequipment.com. They have a website and you can ask questions there. There's a lot of history there as well, so you can check that out. They do also have a Facebook page, which is Reynolds Farm Equipment Inc., and an Instagram, which is Reynolds Farm EQ for equipment. I have tagged that. I will say for everybody, if you can't buy your lawnmower from Reynolds or you're not a farmer, what I will say is you can mention them when you're driving by and you see the cross and you take a picture of the cross. Make sure to tag them in a post. That brings awareness to Reynolds Farm Equipment. It shares if you've ever had any equipment repaired or fixed, give a review of Reynolds Farm Equipment on social so that more people can know about it, especially for those. Here's the thing. People are moving into Fishers every day, right? And so as real estate agents, we recognize that. And there's a lot of people that don't know who Reynolds Farm Equipment is, and we want to bring awareness to it. So for finding Geesaman Homes, you can find us at geesamanhomes.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram, Geesaman Homes for Facebook, and then Cameron the Realtor or Cameron and Adam on Instagram. So thank you so much, everybody. On the questions, there's also throughout, this is going to get posted to Facebook. And if you have any questions for Gary, I can always reach out to Gary to get some answers. But if you have any questions or need anything at all, just let us know. But thank you again for joining Get to Know Your Neighbor. We will get with the winner for the lawnmower service. And we hope that you guys all have a wonderful Tuesday. Thanks so much. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You bet.